Twins left. Check zone. Check zone. All right, we're going to get Brown, 570, wide curl on 2.
4-3 stab, smash strong. Open cannon, Mike Pop.
Hello and welcome to In the Huddle. I'm your host, JT Thomas, broadcasting live from Saberton Station. We're here every Wednesday from 6 to 7. If you don't catch me here, make sure you go check me out at thedpost.com. Gentlemen, I got here with me today my good friend, Ed Green, WVU Mountaineer, 1994 to 1998.
Yep.
And my big friend over here, Big Tone, Avery Richardson. Gentlemen, let's break the huddle.
Let's do it.
Guys, I mean, we come back this week and very optimistic going into Texas. Everybody knows Texas had a down year, but we were really concerned about the Mountaineers coming off a 4-game losing streak. But the good thing about it, Ed, we had them home.
Yeah.
And whenever we have people home, I feel like we have an advantage.
Absolutely.
Because we got Mountaineer fans. I just want to recap and talk about how well we did. Mountaineers won the game 38-20. And I want to start off with the beginning of the game in terms of when they came down and kicked the field goal on it. Did we think we were getting the same old Mountaineers? What did you feel going into that?
Well, when the game started, I felt a little bit of a different energy. Obviously because we're home, and for some reason, and this happened traditionally even when we played, when we're on that home field, you're supercharged. When you're playing away, you feel a little far from home, and it takes a little bit to get into your groove. But I thought right from the beginning, I knew that they were going to set the tempo. They had the attitude that this was our house. We were done with the losing streak, and it was go time. So from the first snap, the energy on the sideline, even before the snap, I could see just the energy on the sideline. It was a different team, and I knew that this game was going to go exactly how it went.
Tone, we talk about WVU, going in this game 5-4. And playing a Texas team, and we know how traditionally Texas plays us. What do you think about going into this week, that particular week against Texas? How do you feel about it?
One of the major things that I noticed was how everyone ran to the ball on defense.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the first things I look at as far as everyone getting to the ball. And I seen guys getting to the ball on the offensive side. I saw linemen staying on their blocks. Yeah. And then we was able to run the ball. So when you're seeing those type of things early, it's going to be a good Mountaineer day.
Absolutely. I have to say, I'll focus on that defense, and I'm glad you went there, because last week I was talking about my good friend Jared Barber and Nick Kidakowski. I was talking about how important it was for that defense to be active on that field.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, in the first half of the game, my friend Jared Barber scoops up a fumble and heads it in for a touchdown.
Yes, he did. Big play.
So Jared, way to step up, bud.
Yeah.
And obviously the defense took our challenges seriously. Yeah. But this game was a mix of running, passing, sprinkled with a little defense here and there. The Mountaineers did an outstanding job in the running game, man. Wendell Smallwood rushed for 165 yards, Tom.
Yes, I love it. I love that, JT. Man, we went out there and we talked about smash mouth football. Yeah. And I thought I saw that. I thought we went away from that a little bit last couple of games, but we went back. Even with that Texas Tech game, we ran the ball successfully and had a lot of success running the ball. And I know Ed's a big old lineman. You want to get those guys oiled up, get them sweaty, and have those guys blocking for you. And both backs ran the ball very well. Yeah. And I believe when you're able to run the ball, you can control tempo. And we was able to do that the last 2 Saturdays. So going forward, I would hope that going to Kansas, we keep that same type of game plan. But I'm going to throw something at you, JT, being a linebacker. What did you think about our inside linebacker play this Saturday?
Well, it was much better. I think, Nick Kwiatkowski led the team with 9 tackles, followed up by Pettaway. Shaq Pettaway. Yeah. It was good to finally see the Mountaineers running and play that linebacker position like I thought it should be.
Absolutely.
And again, it's not a crack on the guy. It's about being aggressive as a Mountaineer linebacker, being aggressive as a Mountaineer defense, and getting the job done. Like I said, I feel like the guys kind of took these challenges, not necessarily for me. Obviously, I'm not there talking to them, but they took the challenge of their coach, Tony Gibson, and just really went out there and played Mountaineer football. I thought it was good to see that it was just nonstop action for our football team. From the minute we made that touchdown with Jared Barber making the touchdown, the offense came back and responded, and I thought it started going pretty well. Now, one thing that I thought was pretty interesting was Coach Hogerson, Ed, and you can talk about this, began to stick with the run.
Yeah.
You know, as I mentioned now, with 165 yards rushing, there had to be some big guys blocking.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I thought that, you know, our running game, especially when Smallwood started to build up ahead of steam, all season has been pretty formidable. Interesting statistic, we're number 3 in the conference right now in rushing. So why wouldn't we keep feeding that? I mean, as a coach, you'd have to look at that statistic and say, okay, you know, we're number 3 at rushing. I think we're number 8 or 9 in the pass. So that's where your bread and butter is. And obviously, not too many people in the conference have figured out how to really slow that running game down. So I'm glad that he saw the strengths. He didn't try to force a quarterback to do a lot of things that are much out of his element right now. You know, a lot of times when you watch the game and you look at Skylar Howard and you compare him to the offensive line, all he really has are throwing lanes. He can't throw over top of those guys. It's just not physically possible. But he moves well, and when he can make a throw, he makes a pretty good one.
Right.
But if they get him moving and they get him confused, that's when the mistakes start to happen, the interceptions and things like that. So I think we did a great job of saying, you know what, guys, our strength is running, and we're going to do it.
Run the ball.
And they let those guys in front get real physical.
You know, early on in the season, when we first started this, we thought that was going to be one of our liabilities, our offensive line, because they were so young. You know, we got a few true freshmen on there. One thing that we talked about last week that was quite different was the startup, the lineup this week. Last week we had the Lucas kid on at left tackle with Panky, and I said on the show last week, if we keep that combination, we might see something special happen. And I'm telling you, I'm starting to see things that particular side of the ball. They're doing very, very well, and I think Howard's done a good job of managing that. You got to think about it. When the coach really goes out there and talks about how well you're going to be throwing the ball and changes the dynamic and typically becomes a running team. You know, for him to be able to manage that, I thought he did that pretty well. What do you think about that, Tom?
Well, you know, going back to that left side, you know, that's why our bread was buttered. We was able to get 4 and 5 yards. We didn't get behind the chains, and I think that's very important. We kind of kept it into a situation where Skylar was safe. We didn't ask him to make the big throws. We stayed away from the 3rd and 10s and 3rd and 11, and I think that's where we can succeed. I think we get in trouble when we get 3rd and 12, 3rd 13s, and he has to make a difficult throw. You know, if you remember, we go back and we play the tape. I said the best way to guard Skylar was to run a cover 2, because he couldn't throw that deep ball very accurately, and he had problems hitting his wide receivers going across the middle. But when you got that running game going and you put it in that gut, the linebackers got to come up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, you know, football to me, it's not chess, it's checkers. You know what I mean? So let's don't make it harder than what it has to be. We got a very young quarterback. We have a strong running game. Let's play Mountaineer football. Run out. And I think that's what we did, and we've been very successful.
Absolutely.
You know, Ed, when you think about it, you're going to get a lot of people that say, hey, this is Texas in the down year. But as I was watching the game, there was a lot of athletes.
They got some athletes.
There was a lot of athletes out there. You know, I saw a receiver lineup about maybe 6'6". You know, they have athletes out there. Our guys and our coaches seem to game plan this a lot better. You know, basically what they were doing was taking what was given to them. You know, and I think when we take that mindset, and I mentioned this before in terms of talking about what type of team we are. Are we an air raid or are we a running team? No, we're a football team. We're gonna take what you give us. So if you give us something, we certainly gonna take it. We won't have a problem doing that. But Ed, let me ask you this question: what did this win mean to the Mountaineers?
It was everything. It was what they really needed to get that really ugly monkey off their back. So you know, they had a little time to kind of regroup, figure out who they were as a football team. I'm sure that the coaching staff had a little bit of a strategy to psychologically pump these guys up. I'm sure there was a lot of bonding time. You know, I remember one time driving by there, I heard a lot of music blasting from the stadium, so I knew that they were getting in a groove. And we've had, you know, those off weeks are kind of hard to manage sometimes. There's a lot of time. You got space. A lot of times the coaches don't want to throw a lot at you because they use that time to their advantage. They want to also use that time to recover and also to get you mentally prepared. And that's what we saw.
Sure.
You know, time after time, Tone, you hear coaches talking about adversity.
Yes, sir.
You know, when we came off the road with those 4 losses, you know, you have to think about, as Alex was on the show last week, he said he was wondering if the coach had lost his team. But that team seemed to have done a good job of dealing with adversities. They came together as a team against Texas Tech, and boom, we're right back here, as Ed just talked about, going by the stadium, hearing about what's all going on. Those guys realize they're a family, that they have to play together, and that's what Mountaineers do. We've been a part of those locker rooms, and when a team gets focused like that and realize their coach is with them, they tend to want to play out, and that's what these guys are doing.
Yeah,
and again, I guarantee you, they're not going to go into this week thinking that this is just another game. This is a game.
The game.
For the most part, as I mentioned, I'll say to you, Tone.
Yes.
Well, you know, what does it mean for them? We talked about this. Is talking about bowls.
Well, yeah, exactly. You had just had that conversation there shortly. We was talking about the bowl games, but just to go back a minute, beating Texas in anything is great. You know, beating them in checkers, beating them in pity pat. I don't care. You know, just beating Texas is a great thing, and we was able to do that. I mean, Texas had success. They beat us the last 2 times we played them, but we was able to come out here and beat them, so that was big. Talking about the coaches and the enthusiasm, I was on my Facebook and I seen an article they had with Coach Hogerson was crowd surfing on it with his teammates, and I think that's beautiful because that gets the guys involved. He's having fun because let's face it, that 4-week stretch, no one was having fun. No one was happy, but to see him being happy, see his fellows being happy. And if you go over there to the stadium, they're walking around like they got a purpose.
Yeah.
It's not like the Grim Reapers hanging over their heads. So it's good to see those young men smiling.
Yeah.
Because let's understand, it's still a game and you want to have fun. And I think these young men are having fun, and I think that's very important.
Yeah.
You know, one big thing has been asked of me, and for the most part, is this the formula for us to win moving forward? I guess that's a big question to ask, Ed. Are we going to be a run team? Or we're going to be a pass team? Like I said, I think we're a football team, you know, but you're an offensive line guy, you know. So when you think about it moving forward, I gave a lot of the unpreparedness on the fact that we were freshmen, that we were young.
Right,
we have young receivers. We have a first-year quarterback. But moving forward, is this the formula we're going to use, you think, Ed?
I believe, you know, statistically, we can't walk away from it. It's working for us. I think it's always worked for us. I never really bought into the air raid mentality just because I never thought that we were that type of team. And there's a few things that come with having a very strong running game. You can't have a strong running game and not be a physical team.
Right.
Okay, so if you have a successful running game, that means you have a physical team, and that's what it's going to have to, what it takes to win at this level. And what that does, especially to our offense, is it supercharges it. It really believes that it makes you believe that you can complete those long third yards, or get those 4 yards that you might need, or when, like Tone said, when you get behind the chains, you believe that you can move that ball forward because you're moving with a little bit of authority. You trust that back, and that back trusts your offensive line. And I see that gelling for them. I mean, I saw that in the beginning of the season. They were running at will the first 3 games. A lot of people forget that. Then something happened. We went into a losing streak. And, a couple of those teams that beat us that are, highly ranked right now, in my opinion, they shouldn't have.
Right.
I think we abandoned some of the things that we, our bread and butter, which I do think is our running game. But I agree, like you, we're a football team first.
Right.
And we have to take what they give us. Absolutely. So if I'm Kansas, I'm saying I got to shut down this running game. I got to force him to throw.
Right.
So I think Skyler's going to have to be prepared to throw next week.
Right.
Okay.
So that moves right into my next question.
Okay.
Is Skyler more productive in the run game or in the pass game? Let me make that question almost twofold.
Okay.
And I'll kind of tell you how I see it. You tell me what you think. So is he killing on the ground game as a player? Not necessarily. Has he thrown some nice balls here and there? Absolutely. So again, I pose the question: is he a better runner? Or is he a better passer?
Well, I'm not happy with the fact that he's running a lot.
Right.
He runs a lot.
Yeah.
And my question is, who's the backup quarterback? Because the backup quarterback's playing wide receiver.
Yeah.
Last I checked.
Exactly.
So my question is, if he's not a big guy.
No.
Last I checked as well. So if you're going to expose him to the physicality of the game, then I would hope that we have a plan B if something was to happen to this young man. because he's doing a lot of quarterback draws. And I was talking to Barry Hawkins, we was watching the games, like, how many times he's going to run the ball? He ran it like 12 times.
And he tries to run it like a running back.
Yeah, you know, this ain't Pat White out there. You know what I mean? But I like the toughness. He is falling forward, so he's getting yards. But I just think, you know, I'm an East Coast guy. And I know the weather's going to turn.
Yeah.
So you can't always throw it all the time. The weather's going to change, and, you know, you got to be able to run it. So I like what I'm seeing as far as we're able to run the balls. We got to continue to run the ball and put him in situations where he can be successful. The waggle, your play.
There you go. That's what I was going
Back to the waggle.
You know, the waggle throws out the backfield, short plays where he can compete, and then when them safeties want to come up, he can throw it deep, and he's done that. Right. So it makes him a little dangerous. So if I'm Kansas, okay, you want to bring those safeties up to stop the run, he's good enough to make a throw downfield. And we got Gibson and we got the other guys that can get downfield, that can make it happen. So if you want to bring them safeties up, I dare you. Bring them up. Because we can go over the top, but we can't make that our living. You know what I mean? So I think that's the formula that we should go with going against Kansas.
Tone, I like that, and especially because you said the boot and waggle. I love the waggle, you know. He's a waggle type of guy.
Absolutely.
Hey, but let me ask you, Ed, you know, when you think about where we are now, you know, where our team started off very well.
Yes.
We had a stretch where we wasn't doing quite well. Did we learn anything new about our team this particular?
Absolutely. You know, a lot of people gave up on the Mountaineers. I know this panel didn't because we've been there before. We were just waiting for the turnaround, and I'm glad it happened last week. I think they learned a lot about themselves. Like you said, there's a lot of young guys. And the thing about being young on any football team, I don't care if you're high school into college, it takes a little time to learn who's around you. You know what I mean? And a lot of times you learn who's around you, not when things are good, but when things are rough.
That's right.
You know, so that adversity was a true test of what was going on inside the locker room. Turn off the lights, all the crowd leaves, and it's the coaching staff and it's the players. And you look to the person to the right and left of you, and you find out what they're made of. Absolutely. You find out who has your back, and they know a lot about you. And I think that's what's gone on for these last few weeks. And now they've got injected with this win. That fever's there, and they want to keep that going.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Guys, you just don't know what it feels like for an athlete who's going through that type of adversity where you feel like the whole world is on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And then you have to be able to rally together and start pulling out these wins. And you want to do that anytime you're in front of your fans. You want to be able to do that. You want to be able to walk around that stadium or run around that stadium while everybody's singing in the country road. You know, you want to be able to run to the student section, then run to the parent section, and then get back in there with your guys and start cheering it up. It's just so important. Our guys are learning that. Very happy for them. I'm sure they'll continue to do well. They'll continue to do well. Let me ask you, Tone.
Yes, sir.
For a team like this, going into this upcoming week, what do they have to do in terms of preparedness?
Well, let me just go back a little bit here to talk about the Big 12 Conference. The Big 12 Conference is big-time football. I mean, it is. I mean, as you look, rankings are coming out. Now that we're getting to the part of our schedule where these teams are playing against the Baylors, the TCUs, the Oklahomas, which we played earlier, all those teams, they're very good teams. And I think there's no day off in the Big East, in the Big 12. Going to this Kansas team, let's understand this. Kansas has beaten us before. Yeah. So they're not going to be scared. And also, Kansas might be looking at, this is their bowl game. You know, they haven't won a game yet. They have had success against West Virginia in the past. They're going to come out, and it's going to be a bee's nest there in Kansas. No question about it. But I think what we need to do, what we talked about earlier, is to establish who we are. And to me, right now, I think we are a running team. I think we're a team that also plays defense very, very well enough. I don't want to say very well because going back to Texas, you know, being a defensive guy, they ran the ball pretty well. Yeah. And I was watching it on my TV. I was like, oh, man. I went to the game. I was like, we got to stop this run because I'm going to tell you something. You're talking about athletes. Texas got athletes. And I watched that number 33 boy or 34, that running back. He was very good. So, again, if we tighten up on our defense, you know, stop the run, and then we're able to run and hit them with some big plays, as we've done with Texas, and get some turnovers. Yeah. Get some turnovers. That play by Barber was huge. Sometimes it's good to get a gimme once in a while. Well, your offense don't always have to score. We got a gimme from our defense, and we appreciate that. We need to get some more.
Yeah.
We need to get some more.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the evening where we give away something.
Yeah.
I'll remind you guys, we're here every Wednesday at Saberton Station from 6 to 7 on Wednesdays. And if you don't catch me here, make sure you go check us out at thedpost.com. For those of you who are here, you get a chance to win the koozies. The koozies, but you got to be able to answer my questions.
All right, what we got?
Now, you got to listen to this one very closely because this one may get to you. Now, for me to recognize you, I need you to raise your hand so I can get you the answer. The question is, who scored the first touchdown for the Mountaineers? Was it Elijah Wellman, Skylar Howard, or Jared Barber? Raise your hand.
Okay.
Jared Barber.
Jared Barber, sir, you are absolutely correct. And this gentleman comes down here every week, as he mentioned.
How many he got of these things,
Pretty
man?
soon he said he have a 12
Yeah, he was
pack.
3 short of the 12
Three
pack.
short of the 12 pack. So guys, you're gonna get you one of these cozies. Now, as you know, I'm 3 for 3 now. When I throw my footballs out, you got to catch it now.
I better look out back
I'm 3
there.
for 3.
Oh.
Oh!
Look, and
Incomplete.
it's not your fault.
Incomplete.
It hit his hands.
It did hit his hand. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to have this type of fun, make sure you stop down at Saberton Station. We're here every Wednesday from 6 to 7. And if you don't catch me, make sure you check me out on thedpost.com. Also, if you're not able to get down here, you're not on my website, you can always email me. Make sure you email me at inthehuddle@thedpost.com. And we'll read your email on air, and we'll talk about it. Guys, let's jump right back in.
Let's get it.
Do it.
Guys, when we left, we talked about moving forward, what we're going to look like. But I want to talk about some of the things we saw this week, specifically out of Wendell Smallwood. Ed, as you mentioned earlier, he's number 2 in the Big 12 right now, rushing with over 1,000 yards rushing. The kid is averaging 124 yards per game. That's big time football.
Absolutely.
You know, going into the season, on the show we didn't think he was going to be that type of back, but he's turned out to be a good back and a good reliable back. And again, a lot of this is really predicated on how well the offensive line plays. And I think they've been doing a good job. So Ed, if you would, let's talk about Smallwood a little bit.
Man, I'm really, really impressed with this back here. He's a workhorse. Win or lose, his numbers still are really good. I don't want to wear him out. We still got a good season left in front of us.
That's right.
But it's saying something about his nature as a back. Like Tone said, in a very difficult conference. But it's also saying, you can have some of the best backs in the world on your team, but if your offensive line isn't clicking, so it's a big testament. I mean, the two are married together. If you got a good offensive line, you got a great running game.
Sure.
Never in the history of football have you had a horrible running back get all kinds of yards and vice versa. So I'm really surprised. Again, it was a pleasant surprise because I didn't see this coming.
Okay.
But this guy is strong, he's durable, and he's hungry. I just want him to last the season because we keep giving him the rock because he's turning into over-reliable.
Absolutely.
So we need to spread it out. Our other backs are still doing well as well. And again, it's a good testament to the offensive line. I love to talk about the offensive line. I'm a big offensive line fan. All right, that's where the game is won and lost. Now, let me say, but I'm really surprised. I think that this coming up week against Kansas, they're really going to key on him because honestly, if you slow him down or stop him, that's a key for success for Kansas.
Right.
That's a key.
Absolutely.
So, and I know if I'm figuring it out, I know our coaching staff is preparing for it.
Right.
So they're probably going to have somebody spying him at all times, figuring out what he's doing. But I know if it's not broken, we're not going to fix it. So expect to see it first and second quarter. If they could shut it down, then we may be able to adjust or have to adjust.
Ed, one kid I want to point out, this Elijah Wellman kid. The kid scored his first touchdown this weekend. Elijah Wellman, West Virginia kid. Doing a great job. The kid just been one of those guys that go in and that bang in and out.
Blocks well. He blocks very well.
He's been doing it for a couple years now. And man, when you have a guy like that, every now and again, it's nice to give him a bone. And I thought we did a good job.
They did.
Giving him a bone and getting him into the end zone. In fact, Elijah Wellman is our offensive champion in the week. That's an award that's given out by the football team, and way to go. I mean, give him an attaboy at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give him an attaboy on that one.
Good job. Guys, we're going to keep it moving. I want to go right back into defense and talk about some of these guys who did well. We talked about Jared Barber and his touchdown. Nick Ketakowski, we talked about him last week, and I talked about how impactful he's been. Tone in the Big 12 for the last couple of years. Well, last year he was in the top 10 in Big 12 tackle. This year, he comes out and he leads the team in tackles right now. I think he's ranked right now in the Big 12 in the top 10 again. Nick Ketakowski ended up as a defensive co-champion with Barber as he had one fumble and a interception. What do you think about these guys?
Well, you know what? I like the linebackers. I like the linebacker play. They're aggressive. They get to the ball. They run to the ball. And the biggest thing I noticed at this game was how they all swarmed to the ball. And I'm a big guy as far as, you can be talented, but effort is something that's not taught.
Right.
That's just something you got it or you don't. And Ray Lewis speaks about that a lot. Now, we don't have a Ray Lewis out there, but that young linebacker that we got is the closest thing to Ray Lewis. And he might not make the play, but he's around the play, or he's around the ball. I also want to, being a defensive lineman, we got to the quarterback.
Yep, I'm going to.
You wait on that.
I know you want to talk about.
We got to the quarterback finally, and I tell you what, that makes it a whole lot different when you can strike a little fear in the quarterback. But JT, you made such a really good point. They have athletes because the quarterbacks were athletes. Yeah. Both of them were, and they always fell forward, even when you're tackling, when you're running. That's getting 4 and 5 yards. So a testament to the defense. We did enough to stop them. However, and it's a little knock on Texas, they're not a team that can throw the ball very well. So that definitely helped us. We played in there. We played to a point where we knew they couldn't run that, just we couldn't throw that well. So we can kind of do our best to focus on the run because they might complete a pass here and there, but it wouldn't kill us. So overall, I like the defense. I like how the linebackers play. And lastly, I'm going to give it up to the secondary. They played well enough to win. We got some picks, we got some turnovers, and so hopefully we can keep it going in that direction.
We had 5 turnovers in that game. It was when you have 5 turnovers against Texas. I mean, you better win the game. You better win.
Absolutely.
It's something positive to have. Most teams, we often say if the Mountaineers have less than 3 or 4 turnovers, we typically shut her down, but not necessarily shut her down, but we don't do quite well. 5 turnovers with Derek Wardley, 1 interception. In fact, Wardley right now is tied for first with 4 interceptions overall for the season. So again, that's our defense, and I couldn't move forward, Tone, without talking about Noble Wakachu.
Yes.
3 sacks.
Yes.
The kid had 3 sacks.
I said it again. Let me hear you say it. Okay.
So we were talking about that. You all week long. I think your first show.
Yes, sir.
You said. JT, I want to see some defense. I want to see some pass rush.
That's right, baby.
I want to see some pass rush.
That's right.
So pass rush got us 5 turnovers and 3 sacks by Noble. Great job.
Outstanding.
And again, there was just so much positive going on here with the Mountaineers. Shaq Pettaway had 8 tackles. I thought everybody just played well across the field, and when we have that, we typically do well as the Mountaineers.
Absolutely.
So guys, I mean, you have to give it up to them. Tone, let's talk a little bit more about how important it was for us when we lose a guy like Carl Joseph.
Okay.
And then you put the onus on the defense to start playing together, not necessarily worrying about who's the man, but playing without a Carl Joseph.
And playing within yourself. And you and I talked about this because obviously we touched everything that has to do with Mountaineer football. And you and I and Alex Shook sat on here and we said when we heard that devastating news when that young man would no longer be able to play for us, my biggest concern was having people trying to do extra, trying to do more to overcompensate for not having Carl back there. I think now the shock is over. It was a little bit shocking that knowing that he wasn't going to play.
Right.
But now guys kind of been thrown into a role. We've been thrown into the fire. We played some high-powered offensive teams. We got exposed a little bit back there, but I think we're kind of settled in. I think everyone knows their roles, know their positions, and we're looking a lot better on the back end. However, Texas Tech wasn't a great throwing team, but Texas Tech was. And I thought we did an outstanding job in the secondary against a team like Texas Tech who can throw it all over the place.
Right.
So I was very proud of those young men. I take my hat off to them because they came out here at the beginning of the year, they said no fly zone. And I don't know if you know what that means. That means that you can't complete passes on them. Well, let me tell you something. They caught a lot of flack from us because they were dropping B-52s, bombers, F-16s, and everything else on them. So I'm going to take my hat off to those young men. They tighten up. Tony Gibson, you got those guys playing in the right direction, and big up to you guys and keep up the good work.
Absolutely.
Guys, the word is resilient. Our team has been quite resilient. Fans, it's that time again. Time for us to give away something. We're going to do another trivia. And again, you know I'm very, very clever when I come up with these trivia questions, so listen very carefully. But to get these opportunities to win these cozies and catch a pass from the old quarterback / linebacker, you have to be here. And you can always come check us out here at Saberton Station. We're here every Wednesday from 6 to 7. If you don't catch us there, you can make sure you go check us out at thedpost.com. Look on the football section. We'll always be there. Here's my trivia question tonight. Listen very closely because this is a true or false question. The year 2013, WVU rides in to Kansas, and Kansas had some, I don't know, that's when Coach Weiss was there. Yes, Coach Weiss was there. Mm-hmm. And they beat up on the Kansas Jayhawks 31-19. True or false? All you got to do is raise your hand, and we got one hand that looks pretty familiar.
Yeah, very familiar.
False.
That is absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. The Mountaineers lost that game 31-19 in Kansas.
Yes.
That was one of our first losses against KU.
Wasn't he playing
Great
country?
job.
He played Country Roads at the stadium that year, Weiss.
Did he?
Yeah, because we beat him the year before, and he got so mad about hearing Country Roads, he played it in practice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, he did.
Well, we got to fix that. Well, sir, you win another koozie, and that collection of yours seems to be growing. But what you might want to do is get a pinch catcher because you got another pass coming. You might want to select someone in the audience to catch this pass. You ready? You got this one. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go, Coach. He
man.
redeemed himself.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, to win all this stuff, you got to be here at Saberton Station every Wednesday from 6 to 7. We will always be here, ready to entertain you and talk about Mountaineer football.
Absolutely.
Guys, let's jump back in and let's get right to it. We're heading into Kansas.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, we went down there and lost in 2013.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, they had some coaching issues going on in 2014. And as we know, they're 0-10 coming in this week's game. But what we don't know, what a lot of people who may not have been watching this particular game, they played TCU last week.
Yes, it did.
And the score, it was 23-17. TCU won 23-17. And, obviously Trayvon Boykins got hurt during that game.
Right.
But you tell me Kansas, who's been losing big time, is not feeling good about themselves playing that close to TCU? What do you think, nigga?
They absolutely, for them, they didn't walk up. They shouldn't have walked off that field with their heads low. They were defeated by a very good team, one of the best in the country, and they hung with them. It was a physical game. I watched that game, and I have to believe that in that locker room, they're supercharged about what they think they can do against the Mountaineers. They believe that this is going to be, like you said, their bowl game. This is their opportunity to turn it around and tell the rest of the Big 12, see, we just had some internal things going on, but we got it turned around here, and we're going to come back. I believe that they're going to find a win, but I just don't want it to be this coming week. So we need to make sure that we do not take them lightly. I don't think that our players and our coaching staff will. We're coming off of a fresh streak of losses, and the guys do remember how that feels, and they also know what it takes to win. So They're getting back into that groove, and they're going to do everything to preserve that. So I don't worry about that. They're going to prepare because there's nothing more contagious than a win. It heals all your bumps, the bruises, all your injuries. All of a sudden, you feel great. So, and I know they want to keep doing that. So I worry about this game.
Right.
Yes,
I do.
Yeah.
I worry about it, but then again, I don't worry about it.
and fans, and true Mountaineer fans know this. We typically do this from time to time. It's one of those things that we all hate as fans. We tend to play down the team sometimes.
Yeah.
You'll hear us players talk about it all the time, and that's why Ed feels a little apprehensive about it, is that he knows we will tend to play down the teams every now and again. Guys, this week is not the time to play down the Kansas because, again, they played TCU pretty well. They feel good about themselves in terms of they didn't lose as bad as most people would have thought they've lost. Mountaineers, we got to get ready. Tom, what do we got to do special in terms? Do we got to put together a different game plan going into Kansas?
You know what, JT, I don't think so. And to go back to what we talked about, TCU, when you play a team every year in your conference, you ain't scared of them.
Right.
You know what? We line up, we play these teams every year. We play the Baylors, we play the Oklahomas, the West Virginians. They're not scared of you. They're going to play you every year. So the shock and awe factor is not there at all. And then when you play a team like West Virginia that you have beaten before, you feel like, hey, we can get these guys. We beat them before. So the confidence level is there. I think the biggest thing what we need to do is go out there and get on top of them early. It's always good to play with a lead. I think the longer these guys stay around, the more confidence they're going to get.
Absolutely.
At home, that crowd's going to get behind them.
Absolutely.
And I remember 2013 clearly. They ran it down our throat.
Yeah. 300 yards.
Yeah, you remember it, don't you? Yeah, they ran it right at us. So I do not want to see that again. I don't want to see the remix. I want to see us come out here, play our game, get on top of this team early, and hopefully put them to bed early. But if we keep these guys around and they build momentum, it could turn into a beast nest down.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you think about this in terms of what they got, and I wanted to, going in, we knew this was going to be an issue with Kansas. I want to just share with the fans what this team looks like. They have 5 freshmen playing on offense. Their left tackle, which is the person that blocks the blind side of their quarterback if he's right-handed. Their left guard is a freshman. Their right tackle is a freshman, and their quarterback is a freshman. Now, you guys keep all this in mind because I'm gonna do a comparison here in a little bit. And their wide receiver, their starting wide receiver, is a freshman. Guys, when you have a team like that, it's very hard to win games, especially this time of season or this particular year in the Big 12. When everybody's slated to do well, we got the playoff system ahead of you. You got Oklahoma State is undefeated right now. When you have that type of conference, it is hard to win, especially with those type of dynamics. What do you think about having a young team like that?
Well, having a young team is particularly hard on the coaching staff too. I mean, everybody takes time to try to get people in their positions, and you don't have when you're starting as a freshman, you don't have that time of transition to learn the pace of the game and the nuances of the game at this level. So a lot of those guys have some difficulty, but they're in the meat and potatoes of the season, and they haven't won yet. And I know that they're sick and tired of it. All of them are there. They're competing at a D1 level in the toughest conference in the country. I don't care what anybody says. And, especially off of last week, I think they now believe they're at that turning point where they can win.
Hey, let me ask you this question real quick, and not to cut you off. This late in the season, are they still called freshmen?
They're not freshmen anymore.
You know what I mean? These guys have been playing for a long time now. I think that freshman label kind of goes over you a little bit, right?
I think, they come in the beginning of the year, I think you're right. They're over that hump. They got through that green part of the second, that green part, but now they walk into that locker room with a veteran mentality.
Absolutely.
Especially being beat up and losing all of these games. But now they're at the point where, especially last week, hey, we should have been playing this hard all season.
Sure.
Right.
So that's what's happening with them, and I think you're going to see that more and more. And again, That's why they kind of scare me right now.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you know what, though? The difference, though, in terms of why they still freshmen, and I'm going to have to push back just a little bit, because they're going to be going against up a 3.35.
Yeah.
They
You
haven't
don't
seen
see
that
that
in
in
the
a
Big
long time.
12 at all.
Right.
So you're talking about some guys who coming out of high school who may have never seen the 3.35 coming from West Virginia.
Sure.
Right.
You know, so that
That's
kind of
true.
puts them in a different category. But I wanted to contrast this right here. I want people to pay attention to this. Let's talk about WVU and WVU's youth. I want to talk about WVU's youth and contrast that to Kansas. Currently, we have 5 what I call young guys. I said Kansas had 5 young guys, right? WVU wide receiver is a redshirt freshman, 1 year removed from what they have. Our left guard is a redshirt sophomore. Our right guard is a redshirt sophomore. Our right tackle is a redshirt freshman. Our wide receiver is a freshman.
Okay.
And we got 1 junior. Okay, at our quarterback position. At the key position, I just said 5. I gave you 5 guys. I showed you what Kansas had, right?
Okay.
So, guys, contrast that and kind of share with our audience what kind of predicament we could have been in if our team had not built the depth that we've had or built the consistency that we've had in the last 2 years.
Absolutely. We could be in the same position that Kansas is right now, where we have talent, but we haven't honed in and sharpened the skill yet. I was a little worried about that in the beginning of the season, but we came out just banging. You know, everybody was talking undefeated after the first 3 games. I was like, hold up, hold up. We got to get into conference play. And then of course, we went into that losing streak. A lot of I think the young-minded mentality may have been a part of that. Again, it's a melding between the coaching and the players and the players together. That takes time, and it's hard to do. A lot of those guys are fresh out of high school. You know, last year they were playing in high school. Now they're playing on major
Big
networks in prime time.
Big difference.
And the speed of the game, and the power of the game, and the decision making of the game. That's a huge adjustment. But I'm glad you brought up the contrast, because now I had an opportunity to really just think about it. It could have you're looking at 2 different ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I got to say, I'm even that more proud of these guys.
Yeah, when you look at it, all season long, that's all I've been talking about is that we have a young team. You know, our left guard is a transfer, right? He's a transfer. Our quarterback is a transfer. And then we have freshman receiver and a redshirt freshman receiver. And then we got young guys on the front.
Yeah.
So we actually in a better predicament than most teams in the Big 12.
Yeah.
So guys, calm down. Let our team mature. Let our team mature into the great team that we know it can be.
Well, you know what it is, though, JT. Every year we think we're going to go undefeated and play for the national championship.
Well, I want to add something to that too, because as I listen to what you said about the youth that's playing out there, to me, looking at the other side of it, that means our future is pretty bright.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Because I'm a half full type of guy. You know what I mean? So if these guys are young and they're playing at this level right now, that just bodes well for the future. So you get in there, you're getting a little dirty, you're seeing what Big 12 football is all about. Because let me tell you something, those first 3 games, those are tune-up games. And I hate to say that about Maryland, because Maryland used to be a very tough team. And I played against Maryland several times, and Maryland put a lot of guys that playing on Sunday.
Yeah.
But right now they're a little bit down. But the other 2 games we played, I thought those was tune-up games. Big 12 games, these ain't tune-up games. I don't care if you're playing Kansas, Iowa State, Oklahoma, whatever. So by these young guys playing and doing very well, that doesn't do nothing but build depth and builds our program.
Yeah.
So I think that helps us out 100%.
Hang in there.
And that's my point. My whole point in contrast, and that is our future is absolutely bright. It's that time again. I'm always trying to give something away, and all you got to do is come down here to Saberton Station every Wednesday and check us out. And listen, I even sweeten the pot a little bit. Listen to this.
What do you got?
We've been talking about this the last couple of weeks, right? All you have to do is to win, and listen to this now, a $100 Visa gift card. All you have to do is go to our website and go to our YouTube channel and just make some comments. And you're automatically entered into an opportunity to win that Visa gift card. Again, look how sweet we make it here. All right, listen, and you don't even have to come down for that. All you have to do is go to the website and do that. And we do that every week. Every week we've had a winner doing that. So again, guys, I want you to come down here every Wednesday or check us out online and hear what we got to say.
Can the panelists go in there? Can we?
Panelists, I don't know. I don't know.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Absolutely.
Hey, listen, guys. I also want to share this with you. As I said earlier, there's other ways to contact us. You can contact us by sending us an email at inthehuddle@thedpost.com. And we were taken up on that. So we have a question that came in from a Dusty Gwen, and his question to the panel is this. If you were to talk to your team about, if you had an opportunity to share with your team film on the 2013 season against Kansas, how much of that film would you show?
Ooh, that's a good question. We would have to sit down and we would have to watch that whole game. Because I want everybody to be reminded of how quickly it could turn if you don't come out there and play Mountaineer football. So I think that would be my strategy. We sit down and we would watch that. Okay. We would watch that.
What do you say, Tom?
Well, I'll tell you what. What I'm doing, I'm taking all the clips of running plays. Because last time I remember, they ran it down our throat. So, you know what, boys? Bring your sheets, drinks, and your sodas and your popcorn, because we're going to sit here and watch film.
We're going to do the old collab,
we're going to watch running plays, and we're going to show a way to shut this down. Because I'll be daggone if I'm watch this again on Saturday. It's not going to happen.
I can see the old collab rewind with the little red dot.
So that's what I'll do. Yes, to answer your question, I will show the running plays that they had a lot of success on and what we need to do to stop it, because I'm going to tell you what, we're going to see a lot of that this Saturday until we stop it.
Yeah.
So, Dusty, I agree with my panelists. It's going to, for the most part, we're going to have to watch the whole film. And typically, this is what happens anyway, right? The offense will look at some cut-ups. The defense will look at some cut-ups. And then before the game, we typically will watch, for the most part, the majority of the game, if not all the game. So oftentimes we kind of do that anyway, and I can guarantee you, going into Kansas this week, that will be the strategy of our football team. So again, Dusty, I want to thank you for sending in your questions.
Thanks,
and I want to encourage any and everybody else, if you last week I was here and a young lady gave a great question before I left. But yet she said she was afraid to ask. So I encourage everyone to just simply send an email to inthehuddle@thedpost.com. Again, inthehuddle@thedpost.com. And just to add to my friend Dusty, who sent the email, he asked the question. He said, "Hey, was JT really out for his birthday, or did he hurt his arm throwing one of those passes?" You saw today, Dusty, the arm was accurate. I was accurate. I was accurate. I hit him both times. He missed the one, but I was pretty accurate. So the arm's doing good, but thanks for thinking of me. I did go out for my birthday on the 21st. Thank you so much for asking your questions. Guys, we're going to turn it over to you now. You guys know how we do it. For you guys who are live in the audience, this is our panel. Go ahead and shoot us your question. All you got to do is raise your hand and we'll get the mic over to you and do our best in answering your question.
Do you think that us forcing the turnovers that we did in Texas would help greatly in this game?
I'll let you start up, Tom.
Oh, turnovers is always great to have. And that's the whole thing as far as defense is to cause turnovers. Yeah. I thought in our earlier games in the Big 12, we wasn't getting turnovers. To go back to that Texas game, Barber started off well. He was able to get us a pick. He was able to get a scoop and score, and we was able to get that ball rolling. I believe JT wrote down we have 5 turnovers, and that's outstanding. So if we can have that same type of commitment or that same type of support going in against Kansas and able to produce those type of turnovers, who doesn't want the ball, on the other side of the field? Right. If we're able to cause some turnovers. So I hope we do get another 5 to 6 turnovers. Absolutely.
What you think about it, Ed?
Absolutely. The more turnovers, the better. That always helps us in our situation, especially when you're talking about things about field position. It supercharges the entire team, defensively, offensively, and puts us in a great situation. The more turnovers, the better for us. echoing something that Tone said earlier, you know, the longer we keep them in this game, the stronger they're going to get.
Yeah.
So I would love to see us get some turnovers early and put some points on the board early, and really, that's a demoralizing effect if you put 21 points in the first quarter.
Absolutely.
Your hands are up at that point. It's hard to get out of that hole. So, and turnovers are a great way to do that.
You know, I actually have a philosophy in terms of how I approach turnovers. The sad part is I really didn't gain this philosophy until after I finished playing football. And that philosophy is play with a sense of urgency and try to script the ball early. Try to script that ball out of there early. I saw Darryl Worley reaching in there, ripping that ball out. Anytime he was on the tackle, you saw his hand in there trying to pull that guy hand off the ball. That is so important that we play with a sense of urgency from the first snap of the ball. Anytime a guy goes down, as we used to say, one guy goes in, secure the block, the other guy comes in, he's either ripping or he punching.
Yeah.
He punching the ball out and he coming across, ripping it out of his hands. Sir, that was a great question. That is so important that our team take that type of approach. And I can tell, like I said, I saw Worley doing that early in the game. In the second quarter, he's trying to rip the ball out. That tall quarterback who was running the ball, if you notice, every time he ran that ball, you saw a guy punching or ripping, trying to get that ball out.
And it came out.
So again, sir, that's a great observation. It's really important for us moving forward to focus on those turnovers, and I'm sure our team moving forward our Mountaineers moving forward will certainly do that. So again, thank you for your question. And for that, you may get another, I don't know. You
got to know. I think you got to know, right?
Complete his 12-pack.
So again, the floor is open for anyone else who has any more questions. We got two more questions.
Oh, you got a question?
Do you think that Skylar Howard should wait just a little bit longer before he takes off on those quarterback draws to see what develops or where the hole develops?
Great question. Okay. Great question. You get that, Egg? I'll let you start off, Ed.
Well, it does seem like sometimes that it's the plan, that he steps back and he immediately takes off. And I think to some degree, that might be part of the playbook, to make it feel like it's going to be a short pass or a drop back pass, and they wait for that offensive line to spread out. It's a timing play.
Yep.
A lot of times when that quarterback takes off, it's based off of the timing of what's happening in front of him. That usually dictates when he really turns it up. If in fact it is a draw type of play. But if it's a pass that's well defended and he's got a scoot, it may seem a little bit less formulated. So that's a hard one to gauge. You have to kind of know what's called inside the huddle before it happens. But for the most part, I think Skylar's doing a pretty good job of protecting the ball. And when he does scramble, he's kind of hard to take down. I think he runs a little too hard for him sometimes, and we need to save him.
Well, my question, sir, I wish we get rid of the whole play. I just got to call it what it is. And two, I developed who's my backup, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse. Can you tell me who the backup quarterback is? I don't know. So why am I running my number one quarterback all the time?
I don't think we want to find out.
I'm just trying to figure that out. I'm not. Well, he's playing wide receiver. I'm not the brightest guy in the room, but I would like for us to go away from that. We run it a lot, and again, I said earlier in the show, he is not a big guy.
No.
And I'm gonna tell you what, if I was on the other side of that ball, I'm gonna get a shot on. And I'm sure defensive guys like yourself say, I'm gonna get a shot on this guy because he's, who else they got to come in? So I hope we will go away from that a little bit. Let the running backs run the ball. That's why we got Shell back there. That's why we got Smallwood back there. Let those guys be our feature runners. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Sir, that is absolutely a great question. Right.
He's going to run the ball.
Exactly. On third down, they typically do it.
And that's a good key. And that's a real good key.
So I'll share with you what I think. I used to be an old quarterback and came to college as a quarterback, actually. And the difference, in my opinion, is this, okay? Back in the 90s, when you wanted to do a draw, there was always some sort of pass action. You remember when they dropped back, they would at least put their hand up, right? They don't do that anymore, right? It almost, if you notice what Texas did, Texas put 33 in the back and almost ran like a wildcat offense, right? And that's to me, that's what it seems like, that we're approaching that play as though it was some sort of wildcat. and there's an expected run for him to run immediately. And they're blocking it up front like there's some sort of, not necessarily crossing action, but some sort of dive action, right? So that's my interpretation of what may be happening. Opposed to us being in the 90s and they faking the pass, they're doing it sort of like a wildcat. And again, that's total speculation. But as we say, you know, coming to here in the huddle, where you're going to get inside the players' huddle, and we're going to tell you what we think. So, sir, again, thank you for your question. You'll certainly get a cozy before you leave.
If they're going to run a wildcat, I'd rather win a small wildcat.
There you go. There you go.
He's built for it.
Good job. Good job. We got one more question.
Last year, the 4 teams that we lost to this year in a row, West Virginia was 2-2, and they almost beat TCU, almost 3-1. So is this a sign of a little bit of regression that we went 0-4 to the teams we were 2-2 with last year, or is it just the other team's better, or what?
Well, I think, you know what, I'll start off and let you guys finish up. So, because this is what I think in terms of. So when we played TCU, who we played for? No, we played Baylor first. Baylor first, and we locked them down in terms of we had zero coverage. We were in zero coverage and didn't allow them to throw the ball. They wanted to throw the ball on us, okay? We shut them down.
We did what?
We shut them down.
Baylor. We talking about this game, this year?
No, you said last year.
Okay. I was like, this year, right? I must have been sleeping or something.
Last year we shut them down.
All right.
Okay, and then TCU. We had an opportunity to beat TCU. We should have beat TCU. So what I think from last year to this year is they know what we look like. In fact, I almost feared, and we talked about on this show, if we go zero coverage, they're going to run the ball on us. And that's what they did. The difference this year was they had quarterbacks that could do more damage than what they had last year. And I think they took advantage of us and exploited the fact they had a quarterback to run the ball. Ed, I'll let you move on with it.
Well, I think our team dynamic changed a bit too, going back to the youth. We were not the same team as we were last year. There was a lot of adjustments that needed to be made. I think both teams came with a similar strategy when we played against those four teams. And last year, we definitely were 2-2. I don't think we're moving back. I think we're still going through a growing period. Again, if you look at Kansas, and they have the same amount of young guys playing. I think we're going to figure it out. I know we're going to get better. We've already shown that we're already getting better. But I think the dynamic is just different from last year. These teams, you know, they still have some, when you talk about Baylor, you made chills go up my spine. That team is just, I don't want to think about that game.
and before I pass it on to Tony, because this is a particular one I like, right? So again, Tony Gibson last year comes on the scene, right, with his 3-3-5.
Right.
Nobody's seen this defense. Bam, you know, we came out there. No one saw what we were able to do.
We're adjusting,
now they kind of know what we're doing. Now we're going to have to really game plan and play these teams a lot tougher. So again, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Well, I agree with this gentleman's question. You know, it is, you know, where are we going? We was able to throw the ball better last year. No question about it. You know, we got a boy that's playing on Sundays. We had 2 guys that was wide receivers that's playing on Sunday. So we was able to throw the ball. The offense was a lot better than it was this year.
Right.
So you know, the question is, you know, and I hear it a lot of time, can we play with the upper echelon of the Big 12? Or are we going to be content of being an 8-4, 75 team that just stays right in the middle, not the lower part, but right there, but always behind the Oklahomas, the Baylors, and the TCU? And I think that's what we got to ask ourselves. Where are we going?
Right.
And I'm a fan, but I'm a realist too. Where are we going? And I think that's that gentleman's question. Where are we going?
Well,
I'm asking you.
Hey,
where are we going?
We're going nowhere but up. And I should say we're going out. We're ready to shut her down. Guys, it's our time, and certainly want to, first of all, thank everybody who came out tonight. I want to thank my panelists for being here every week. We've been here every week since the football season has started. So I want to certainly thank you guys. And guys, I just want to remind you, we're here every Wednesday at Saberton Station from 6 to 7. If you don't catch us here, make sure you check us out at thedpost.com. Now, don't forget, you can always send your emails at inthehuddle@thedpost.com. And I will remind you, there's a gift card for $100 that you can win every week just by going on the website at inthehuddle@thedpost.com, hitting our YouTube channel and making a comment or a post. Again, guys, I want to thank you all for supporting us all season long. And until next time, huddle up.
All right, thank you. Good job.